Ed McBain wrote over 50 novels in the 87th Precinct series. When he was finishing up novel number 3, The Pusher, it was his intention to kill off the character Steve Carella. His publishers revolted and told him that he was crazy, that the character was too good. Steve's relationship and dynamic with Teddy, his deaf and mute fiance, was just too good to pass up and was really going to give some staying power to the series, along with attracting readers that would connect with these characters. I'm definitely one of them. And so, in the afterword of book number 4, The Con Man, McBain dives in and tells a little bit about that scenario, and I found it really interesting after I read this book. And McBain says in a joking fashion that they chained him in a basement and fed him bread and water until he agreed to their demands. And I'm glad he did. Teddy and Steve are great characters. They're definitely characters in this book, I think, cements the fact that trying to read a series this large, you have to have those characters that keep pulling you back. And Steve and Teddy are definitely one of them. So stick around as I dive into my book review for The Con Man, book number 4 in the 87th Precinct series. So yes, The Con Man by Ed McBain. It was published in 1959. It is actually the 4th book in the 87th Precinct series. This is the actual 5th book I've read. When I watched Ollie at Criminali, his video about this series that he did a while back, I really am glad I did, because it taught me a couple things. One, that I was probably going to connect with Ed McBain and his writing, which I have, and the fact that you can read this series out of order. And I have. I believe book 18 was one of the first ones I read, Acts, I think it is called. And so, yeah, I have really enjoyed this book, and I'm going to talk about it a little more. And just as an aside, these have been free if you have a Kindle Unlimited account right now. So I have been downloading them. I actually grabbed book number 5 and downloaded it after I finished book 4. I don't know when I'll read it just yet, but I plan on reading it soon. I've really enjoyed these crime mystery novels. And so let's dive right in and talk about the summary of this book. So The Con Man by Ed McBain, it centers around this plot around con men. And we're in Isola, which is the fictional world, kind of the New York City of Ed McBain's 87th Precinct. And there is con men running scams on people. And there is one in particular that seems to be ratcheting up the action, because it takes a real dark turn when a young woman's body is found in the Harb River as a floater, and having died by poisoning. And she has a small tattoo on her hand, which becomes a key clue. When another body appears under similar circumstances with the same cause of death being arsenic poisoning and a similar tattoo, the 87th Precinct detectives realize that they're dealing with some serial killer, and Steve Carella and Bert Kling start working the case to discover who this con man is. Now, as the detectives start investigating and tracking down various con men, we get to see that not all con men are inherently evil. Some of them are just out there to con people out of money or personal belongings, but the one they're really after is conning people into the point of killing them, and that's what they're after. And so that's kind of the summary of this thing. So let's talk about what I enjoyed. Steve Carella and Teddy play a very central role in this story, especially Teddy, and especially during the climax, which just really kind of solidifies their characters in this book. I really enjoyed a lot of the cons and hustles. There's a couple of them in particular where we get the reveals, whether they're doing a social engineering, whether it's a drinking game, whether it's a heist about pearls, and we get to see that come to fruition as we're going through there. Some of them are red herrings in a way. They're not the mastermind or the killer that is putting tattoos on these girls and poisoning them with arsenic, but they're interesting insights into this gritty town or gritty city of Isola that the detectives have to operate. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed that not only does Kling and Corella take the investigation, but you have Haviland and you have Arthur Brown, all other members of the 87th Precinct, and they also do some investigative work. And I really liked their individual point of views and stories within this story. I thought it was really interesting. Kling has a young fiance now. She is in college, and Kling finds out, the vacation schedule, and it's not what he wanted. But him and his fiance, they try to manipulate her teacher and her finals and testing so that they can make the vacation work. And so you have that kind of little plot thread going on. Kling is obviously, he's kind of a greenhorn, new to the 87th Precinct detectives after being promoted up off the street as a beat cop. And you got to kind of get to see him butt heads with some of the other tenured detectives, being a young rookie. I really liked Haviland, Roger Haviland. He's kind of a over-the-top kind of character. Sorry, I had to cough there. But Haviland is a great character because I think he creates some really great contrast. He's not what you say a poster boy for the 87th Precinct is, but he is a big guy and has a mean temper. And he goes and does some investigative work on a potential con man at a hotel. And the hotel owner is very racist. And Haviland, being a very large African-American detective, he kind of plays right into that hand until he flashes his badge. And I really like that kind of story. I also liked Detective Arthur Brown. He plays kind of a con on these con men about pearls, and I won't get into it to spoil anything, but I thought these individual little stories and point of views all just added a really great kind of shine to this story and tale, even though they're not completely necessary for the larger picture of the actual con man doing the murders. They do give you this insight into not only Isola, but also into the minds of these con men. Some of them actually went straight and are no longer conning people. Yeah, it's very interesting. Again, I really like Steve and Teddy. Their dynamic in dialogue is just phenomenal. I have really grown to like them as characters in the 87th Precinct. So let's talk rating it overall. I give it a 4.1, which may seem really low compared to how much I'm talking this up. But hear me out. I found the story really good. I really like the characters. It is not one of the highest rated 87th Precinct books that I've read. It is, however, it does do something very unique. It cements in my mind that reading this very large series is something that I should continue to do because it has such great characters and moments in the story. Although the overarching story wasn't one that I just continued to rip through the pages, I was engaged throughout. It did have enough of these little bitty snapshots that kept me going through it. Definitely not one of my favorite stories as I've read so far. I've read 5 of them, but it is great. Again, McBain's writing is just phenomenal. It's hard-boiled, pulpish. It's straight to the point. There's some twists and turns here as well, like I said, that keep you engaged. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's solid. It's a 4.1. I really had a good time. I would definitely recommend it to someone if you're wanting to start out reading the 87th Precinct series. I don't think you can go wrong here. It's definitely not a bad book at all. It just hasn't been my favorite so far, but it is definitely one, again, that solidifies that reading this large series is something I should continue to do. And with that being said, that is my review of The Con Man by Ed McBain, book number 4 in the 87th Precinct series. I give it a 4.1. I hope you're having a great day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Thanks.